As the Azores faded behind them, so did the remnants of Captain Thorne's sanity. He was a man wrestling with two selves, both battling to dominate. One clinging to reason, fearing the abyss of the unknown, the other drawn to the mystery, consumed by visions of the ghostly crew. They argued constantly. "We seek answers, not theories," Thorne snapped at Harlan. "Logic and evidence, not fairy tales." Harlan's face hardened. "You've lost your way, Elias. Your grief turned obsession. You ignore what you see, hear, feel. There's a difference between intuition and madness. One can dissect the mystery without believing in sorcery." Their partnership, once born of necessity, became a battlefield of ideas. In quieter moments, though, Thorne wrestled with himself. What if Harlan was right? Could his grief be warping his judgment? He thought of his son lost at sea. Hadn't his obsession to find answers become a haunting mirror of that loss? As weeks passed, the Celeste remained a puzzle. They combed through ship's records, finding nothing amiss. Cargo manifests, logbooks, crew contracts, all pointed to a standard voyage. Yet something nagged at Thorne. He reviewed the captain's quarters again. On a desk lay a pile of letters tied with a ribbon. Among them, a schoolbook bearing the name Sophia. What if the answer lay not in the ship's past, but in the present? Aboard the silent vessel, Thorne found a clue he'd overlooked. Tucked under a floorboard was a small, intricately carved wooden box. Inside, nestled in straw, lay a collection of seashells and pebbles, each seemingly ordinary, yet arranged with a childish precision. As he held them, vision struck him. Sophia collecting treasures on the beach, laughter echoing across the waves. Then poof, just like his dream, she was gone. These tokens were the last vestige of her presence, and it struck him. He had failed these children. He had judged their father and dismissed their mother as a mere ghost story. But Sarah Briggs had been more than a figment of imagination. She had loved and lived and died. A sudden clarity washed over Thorne. He understood now. The key to the mystery wasn't supernatural. It was human. And the truth, like the sea, could be deceptively calm while concealing raging depths. With newfound purpose, Thorne revisited the people of Gibraltar. He retraced the steps of the Celeste, consulting logbooks, querying dockworkers and ship chandlers. Slowly, piece by piece, he built a picture of the Briggs family and crew. He learned of their lives, hopes and dreams, finding humanity in their mundane routines. Captain Briggs, a meticulous diarist, wrote of day-to-day events, but something troubled him. Storms, mechanical issues, crew grievances. Thorne saw them all. Yet a dark current ran through the entries. There was a darkness aboard, he realized, and it emanated from Benjamin Briggs. The captain's obsession with a rare meteorite found in Brazil worried him. He treated it like a deity, musing about its power and hidden knowledge. Thorne dismissed it as delusion until he saw the inscription he'd missed before. "To my beloved Sarah, may our love burn bright as the star that guides us home." Love, of course. How could he have overlooked it? Every mysterious tale has a rational explanation, and this was no different. What if the captain's devotion to the meteorite stemmed from something darker, a misguided attempt to harness its supposed power to save his marriage? Dr. Harlan Voss argued vehemently. "You read too much into trifles. If Briggs was a fraud, don't you think the records would show it? He was respected, successful. Why invent a lie?" Thorne knew he wouldn't win this battle of logic, so he changed tactics. He played a tape recording of Briggs' last log entry. "All is well. No incidents to report. Skies clear, winds light. But listen closely. Did you hear that?" A faint sob. His wife. He had discovered the truth. Benjamin Briggs hadn't ventured out seeking doom. He had taken his family down with him to escape his failures. The meteorite was a twisted symbol of his warped love. Thorne felt a surge of triumph, followed by crushing pity. He'd solved the mystery, but at what cost? The faces of the dead stared back at him accusingly. The solace of reason had come at the expense of their humanity. Guilt gnawed at him. He'd dissected their lives, scrutinized their deaths, but in doing so, Had he robbed them of their peace? Trapped between two worlds, he clung to his fading sanity. The ghost ship saga had ensnared him, and now he feared he might never escape its grasp. As weeks turned into months, rumors swirled around him. He'd cracked under the pressure, some said, while others whispered of supernatural dealings. But none knew the torment that raged within him, the war between the man he was and the monster he feared he could become. Each sunrise brought renewed hope, but each sunset dragged him deeper into despair. Captain Elias Thorne stood at the precipice of oblivion. The mystery solved, the ghost ship laid to rest. But what remained of the man who'd sought the truth? His journey had begun with a simple task: deliver a message, collect payment, set sail again. But it had become an odyssey of the soul, a descent into the heart of darkness, mirroring the depths of the ocean he'd once known so well. When the Aurora finally reached port, it was almost a relief to be back among the living. People hurried to disembark, eager to leave the shadow of the ghost ship behind. But Thorne stayed in his cabin, unable to face the world. As the ship was cleared, voices echoed in the halls, reminding him of the specters that haunted him still. He had answers now, but what use were answers when they brought no closure? All aboard the Aurora felt the shift in their captain, the hollowness that defied explanation. Even O'Leary, ever pragmatic, sensed the change. He's paid the devil's price for forbidden knowledge. He confided in the purser, eyes filled with worry. I fear for him. The sea gives and the sea takes, but always exacts a toll. He had traded his soul for secrets, and the sea always took its due. And so Captain Thorne stayed locked away until the very end of the voyage, alone with his ghosts. Deeper into the Atlantic's embrace, Captain Elias Thorne felt the Mary Celeste's presence like a shadow over his soul. The towed ship creaked ominously, as if protesting its eternal voyage. On board the Aurora, Dr. Harlan Voss, his wire-rimmed glasses reflecting the lantern light, pored over maps and occult tomes. In his 40s, and with a scholarly stoop, Harlan had his own demons. Years ago, a failed expedition had claimed his colleagues, leaving him blamed and isolated. He saw the Celeste as redemption, but inner conflict gnawed at him. Science or the supernatural? Meanwhile, O'Leary grew wary. This doctor's filling your head with nonsense. Captain, we're tempting fate, he said, eyeing the spectral schooner. Thorne nodded, though visions continued to plague his nights, filled with the specters of the crew of the Celeste, reliving their last moments. He shared his latest with the men. All agreed it was uncanny, but none understood. What bothered him most was the toll of the ship's bell. Once during a calm sea, it had tolled unaided 13 times. Crew members panicked when they heard it. Thorne had boarded the ship then, finding the captain's log open to a blank page, and there the words appeared faintly, as if by magic. Help us. The impression lingered, a chill that seeped into one's bones, even in the height of summer. They reached the coordinates where the ship was abandoned, but no trace of the vessel was found. Disheartened, they sailed on. Dr. Harlan Voss insisted on conducting a séance, circling the deck with flickering candles. Captain Thorne joined skeptically, but as the others began chanting, the wind suddenly howled, whipping the waves into a frenzy. The ghostly crew of the Mary Celeste materialized around them, their faces pale and drawn. Their whispers mingled with the waves, carrying tales of terror. Thorne saw Briggs, the captain, struggling to control the ship. He watched in fascination as Briggs' face contorted in horror. The rest of the crew were fighting over the controls, their voices rising in anger and frustration. Despite the chaos, a single bell tolled eerily in the distance. Then the ship lurched violently, tossing the crew into the raging sea. The specters struggled against the waves, reaching out with desperate hands. Thorne recoiled, shivering despite the heat, as the ghosts slipped beneath the surface. They vanished. He awoke on the Aurora, shaken and confused. Had it been a dream? Or was he truly witnessing the restless spirits of the Mary Celeste? The event left an indelible mark on him, forever changing his perspective. It intensified his guilt over salvaging what trapped spirits could not find peace. As days passed, The impression of the Mary Celeste grew stronger, whispering in his ear through the cries of gulls. The ocean was once again their guide, leading them to the very spot where the Mary Celeste had been abandoned. The water here seemed to churn and boil, mirroring the turmoil in Thorn's soul. As the men waited anxiously, Harlan performed the ritual, his eyes gleaming with purpose. Suddenly, a dark shape emerged from the depths, pulled by unseen forces. It was the Mary Celeste, rising from its watery grave like a spectre from the past. Its sails hung tattered and grey, casting long shadows on the restless waves. Thorn's psychological depth fractured. During a moment of weakness, he confessed to Harlan, revealing his family's tragic losses at sea. He feared he attracted death and destruction wherever he went. Harlan listened intently, his gaze unwavering. When Thorn finished his tale, there was a long silence. Finally, Harlan spoke, his voice low and resonant. "I understand your burden, Captain, for I, too, have been touched by the mysteries of the deep." He paused, then continued. "My sister, Eliza, vanished on an expedition much like this one. Some said she met with pirates, others whispered of a kraken's embrace. But I believe she fell prey to something far more sinister, an entity from beyond our world." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow on the scene, Harlan revealed his own tragedy. "We are kin in curse," he murmured, his eyes fixed on the phantom schooner. The discovery of their shared tragedy forged a bond between them, uniting two souls tormented by the darkness that lurked beneath the waves. Together, they sought answers, driven by a need to understand the curse that shadowed them. Days turned into weeks, as rumors of the Mary Celeste spread like wildfire. Passing ships spoke of sightings, the same spectral schooner, crewless, but sailing true. Thorn chased every lead, his obsession growing, tearing him from within. Illyri confronted him. "You're becoming obsessed, like the ghosts you denied." Thorn flinched at the accusation, realizing the toll the visions were taking. However, he couldn't stop them. Then came the night that changed everything. As a fierce storm raged, another vision enveloped him. This time, he saw his son, his face pale and drawn. "Father," the boy whispered, his voice echoing the toll of a distant bell. "Beware betrayal. Trust no one." His words struck deep, foretelling a treachery that lay hidden in the heart of the chase. And indeed, a crewman, bribed by rivals seeking salvage rights, planned to cut the ropes securing the Celeste. In the midst of the storm, Thorn woke with a start, his heart pounding in his chest. Was it just another figment of his imagination, or a genuine warning from beyond the grave? Before he could ponder further, the vision unfolded before his eyes. The ropes holding the Mary Celeste snapped, freeing the ghostly schooner. She began to drift away, disappearing into the swirling mists. The sight sent a chill down his spine. With a surge of adrenaline, he jumped into the raging sea. The other crewmen followed, battling the relentless waves as they raced to catch up with the elusive spectre. Thorn, fueled by determination, managed to haul himself aboard the phantom deck. As he stumbled onto the schooner, he found himself enveloped by a thick fog. The air grew heavy, laden with the scent of decay and despair. The silence was deafening, broken only by the mournful creaking of the old ship. The spectral crew regarded him with vacant eyes, their forms shimmering like apparitions. Their silence screamed tales of torment, begging for release from their ethereal prison. Thorn knew he had to help them. But how? Guided by an unseen force, he ventured deeper into the labyrinthine depths of the ship, each step echoing the ship's haunting past. He discovered the captain's cabin, the air thick with the weight of unspoken horrors. And there on the table lay the key to unraveling the mystery, the captain's logbook. Its pages chronicled the descent into madness, revealing the true nature of their ghostly captors. The haunting impression took hold, driving Thorn to the edge of reason. He realized Briggs was trying to communicate, to plead for release through ritualistic destruction. The only way to set them free was to destroy the ship. Fueled by newfound purpose, he grabbed an iron bar, ready to deliver the final blow. He brought the iron bar down, smashing the barrel. Alcohol spilled out, mingling with the salty spray of the sea. Lightning flashed, igniting the spilled liquid. Flames licked upward, threatening to engulf the entire ship. But with trembling hands, Thorn beat out the flames. Alcohol-fueled fire, scarred by near fulfillment of prophecy. Reunited with the Aurora, Thorn pressed on to New York. Briggs' origin there, amid the city's towering spires. The answer awaited. In grimy archives, Thorn found Briggs' secret, diaries hinting at cargo beneath the planks. Harlan decoded them. The alcohol wasn't denatured, but infused with an alchemical essence, drawing these entities. As they closed in on the truth, a new antagonist emerged. Silas Crow, a shipping magnate. He had bought and sold the Celeste, hiding truths to avoid scandal. He approached Thorn, offering to buy back the ship. Let sleeping ghosts lie. Thorn refused, sensing deceit. Confrontation erupted in the crowded docks. Crow revealed his tampering. The fumes were engineered to cause hallucinations, causing the crew to abandon ship in delusion. But the visions showed more. There was a supernatural overlay. Entities fed on fear. Thorn's tragedy peaked. O'Leary deserted him, fearing the curse. Alone with Harlan, he sailed back. The ghosts kept their word. He drowned like kin. As the Aurora circled back toward Europe, the Mary Celeste seemed alive. Her sails, as if adjusting themselves, billowing and drooping without a breath of wind. On the deck, Captain Thorn stood ashen and swaying, clinging to the rail and lost in visions of the damned. His face, once weathered but hearty, was now gaunt and hollow-eyed. Below, Dr. Voss paced his white coat, a stark contrast to his mahogany skin. He turned to the young midshipman, who stood beside him, his face pale and drawn. "We must act quickly," he said, his voice grave. "The longer we wait, the stronger their hold becomes." He looked back at Thorn, his gaze intense. "The only way to break the curse is to burn the ship. We must set her aflame and free the souls that linger here." Thorn had been struggling with this choice ever since they defound the logbook and learned the terrible toll the ship had taken. To destroy the Celeste would mean giving up the only tangible link he had to his father and the life they'd lived aboard her. But with each passing day, the whispers in the night grew louder, the shadows more menacing. And now the doctor believed their very survival depended on it. In the end, it was the sight of Briggs and his family that pushed Thorn over the edge. He had seen them before, of course, along with the other apparitions that haunted the ship, but never so clear and desperate. Their eyes, especially the children's eyes, seemed to plead with him, begging him to set things right. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the deck, Harlan prepared for the ritual. He drew strange symbols in the fading light and muttered incantations from an ancient book of lore, his voice echoing in the stillness. When the first whispers of wind stirred, he fell silent, listening intently. And then as midnight struck, the full horror of their situation became clear. From the depths of the ship, there came a sound like 1,000 whispers, rising and falling, weaving together into a symphony of moans and wails. And as the chorus swelled, shadowy forms began to manifest on the decks around them, taking shape and substance in the firelight. They were the lost souls of the Mary Celeste, and now they were here to claim what was theirs. Thorn saw Briggs and his family standing before him, their forms flickering like dying embers. But beyond them, he saw others, crew members he'd never seen before, their faces twisted in pain and agony, reaching out with spectral hands that scraped against the wood and tore at his clothes. He felt their icy fingers dig into his flesh, heard their whispers slithering into his ear, telling tales of death and damnation. And yet he stood firm, his eyes fixed on the helm, where another vision awaited. There he saw himself, or rather the fate that awaited him. He saw the Celeste sailing on, saw the same fire in her sails, but this time it was him at the helm, guiding the ship toward the rocks. He watched as the ship split open, water rushing in, drowning him and the crew in icy depths. Then he felt it, the crushing pressure of the sea, the taste of salt and decay as the darkness enveloped him, and he sank into the abyss. And as the vision receded, he knew what he had to do. He gripped the helm, feeling its cold, hard surface beneath his touch, and whispered an apology to the ghosts that surrounded him. Then, with a deep breath, he released the lines, letting the ghost of the Mary Celeste have her freedom. With the ship unmoored, he turned to the Aurora, her sails still billowing in the non-existent breeze. He met the questioning look in Dr. Voss's eyes and nodded, a single tear tracing a path down his weathered cheek. As the Celeste drifted away, her spectral crew taking their leave, the winds suddenly shifted, sending the fire in her sails flaring and spreading toward the Aurora. Chaos erupted as the crew abandoned ship, some jumping into the sea, others grabbing onto whatever wreckage they could find. Harlan, overcome by the sudden burst of flame, stumbled and fell, his hands scraping against the hot deck. He cried out, scrambling to his feet just as the Aurora, too, broke free of her moorings and began to drift toward the waiting flames. On the burning quarterdeck, Thorn stood amidst the roaring blaze, his eyes fixed on the ghostly schooner as she sailed on toward the horizon, finally free. And in that moment, as the flames reached their zenith and the ships began their slow sink into the cursed sea, he understood. He had broken the curse, but at what cost? When the sun rose over the placid waters the next morning, it revealed a scene of utter devastation. The Mary Celeste and the Aurora were gone, vanished beneath the waves, leaving nothing but a few charred timbers and a swirling mass of weeds and wreckage. And those who survived the ordeal spoke in hushed tones of the phantoms. They'd seen the specter of the Mary Celeste sailing forevermore, and the grim figure of Captain Thorn at her helm forever, bound to guard the secrets of the Sargasso Sea.